I'm Darryl King from Pine Hollow, Ohio. I live on Maple Grove with my wife, Monica, and our boy, Jayden. I'm talking to you straight because my chest feels tight and it won't let go. A little while ago, I hid a camera in my son's room. I hated doing it. Even to myself, I wouldn't say it out loud. But I did. What I saw on that video took my breath. Hands went cold. Jaw locked. I never, not once, thought I'd see my wife do that with our child. I'm ashamed to even say those words. She's my partner. She's Jayden's mama. That's why this cut's so deep. I don't know the right next step. So I'm asking you to hear me out, all of it, and tell me what you'd do in my shoes. I'll start at the beginning, walk you through it, clear and honest, step by step. Let's begin. Jayden was 7, bright and quick with numbers, tender with animals, loud when he got excited. Sleep was the one thing that never came easy. From day one, he took his time drifting off, fussed at the edge, then popped back up like a jack-in-the-box. He woke often, called our names down the hallway, Daddy, Mama. Sometimes it was thirst. Sometimes it was shadow looks funny. Sometimes it was nothing he could name. We built routines like fences, bath by 7, pajamas, and a small snack. We kept a nightlight shaped like a little hound dog. I ran white noise, old box fan humming like summer. We tried short walks after dinner, slow loops around Maple Grove, counting porch lights. Warm milk with a splash of honey. 2 stories, then lights. For a week, each new trick worked. Then it faded, like chalk after rain. The toll stacked up. Mornings, Monica and I moved like we'd been wrung out. Coffee went cold on the counter. We whispered more so we wouldn't snap, and still we snapped. Over socks on the floor, over a lunchbox left open. Those rare quiet nights felt like a holiday. We'd meet eyes in the hallway and just breathe. I kept notes for a while. Times he woke, what we'd tried, what he'd eaten. No neat pattern showed up. A good night might follow ice cream. A bad night might follow perfect routine. Jayden wasn't misbehaving. His body just wouldn't hand over the keys to sleep. We told ourselves it was a phase. Then the phase stretched out, months turning into years. And every choice we made started bending around that one fact. The boy didn't sleep easy, and neither did we. That fall, Monica landed a spot in the logistics admin office out by the highway. New building, bright lights, desks in neat rows. She was on probation, 90 days to prove she belonged. Her shift started early, before most folks' alarms. She handled intake reports, shipment times, signatures that had a match. One missing pallet, and they'd be on her. She wanted to show up sharp, smile ready, numbers straight. Fit the team. No mistakes. I was running pre-dawn routes. First bus rolled at 4:45. Dark streets. Dew in the windshield. If I got 3 hours of sleep, that was a blessing. We'd pass each other in the kitchen like shift workers in a factory. She grabbed oatmeal. I grabbed a thermos. Quick kiss. Keep it moving. Monica worried about everything. The supervisor who spoke in bullets. The software that glitched if you hit the wrong key. The way new folks got watched. Can't mess up, she'd say, tying her hair back. Not even once. I could see the fear underneath. If nights went bad again, mornings would eat her alive. Same for me. A dozy driver is a danger, and I knew it. We tried to hold each other up. I took trash and dishes. She laid out Jayden's clothes the night before. We set alarms we hated. The house got quiet by force. Lights down, voices low, screens off, hoping sleep would take the hint. Some weeks it did. Some weeks it laughed at us. Every hour mattered. That's not a saying. It's the truth your bones tell you. One bad night led to one sloppy morning. Then 2. Then a week that felt like pushing a stalled car uphill. We kept pushing. Because that's what parents do. Because we thought the next night might finally give us back the day. I started clocking the little things. The way Jayden shuffled to the table with his blanket still dragging, even though he never did that on school days. The way he missed his chair by an inch and had to feel for it with his hand. His eyes didn't track fast, like the world was a half step ahead and he was jogging to catch it. Breakfast told a story by itself. Eggs cooled while he stared. Cereal went soggy because he forgot the spoon in the bowl and let it sit. When I asked, "Buddy, you want fruit or toast?" he said, "Uh-huh." and didn't reach for either. I touched his shoulder. Warm, but not fever warm. He blinked slow and gave me a tired smile that wasn't attached to anything. Monica noticed too, but in a different way. She liked the quiet nights. Who wouldn't? And she carried that calm into the kitchen. Hair tied up, blouse pressed. She set vitamins by his plate, slid a glass of orange juice close, said, "Eat up, baby," in that soft morning voice she uses when she's trying to set the tone for the day. When he didn't move, she moved for him, cut his toast into little squares, nudged the plate, smiled again. Her eyes kept darting to the clock. Early shift waits for no one. Day 3, I walked him to the bus stop. He stayed tucked under my arm the whole stretch of Maple Grove. October air had that thin chill. Leaves were loud under our shoes. He didn't kick them. Jayden always kicked the leaves. At the corner, Mrs. Benson waved from her porch with a broom in her hand. "Morning," she called. He didn't wave back. He just leaned into me and yawned, a long one, jaw to the sky. When the bus pulled up, he climbed on slow, turned his head like it weighed something. I watched him choose a seat and sit with his backpack still on. Kids buzzed around him. He didn't buzz back. That afternoon, I ran the 310 loop past his school and caught a glimpse of recess. Jayden stood near the fence with 2 boys from his class. They were trading cards. He held one, looked down at it like it was a map he couldn't read. No running, no chasing, just standing there, blinking like the sun was too bright. At home, homework was a grind. He liked math. Usually he flew through the first page and asked for the second. That day he put his head in his hand and rubbed his eyebrow like he'd seen me do when my route got rerouted. "You stuck?" I asked. He said, "I forget it." And then, after a long pause, "Can we stop?" We did stop. We went for a short walk to reset. He dragged his feet, toe of his sneakers scuffing the sidewalk. And when I joked about the cracks being hot lava, our old game, he gave me half a grin and stepped on them anyway. Nights kept landing like stones in a pond. Clean drop, no splash. 9:15, door closed, lights out. He sank fast. Too fast. The stillness felt wrong, like someone had pressed mute on our house. Monica and I lay there listening to the heater kick, our breaths finding the same pace for the first time in months. I wanted to be grateful. I was grateful. But something in me kept counting seconds like a man, waiting for an alarm that didn't come. By the 5th morning, I set my alarm 10 minutes earlier, so I could just watch. He came down the hall, hand on the wall, head tilted as if the floor wasn't flat. He sat, and before I could slide the plate to him, he put his face in his hands and rubbed hard, like he was trying to wake his skin up from the outside. "You feeling okay?" I asked. He said, "I'm fine," but the words were soft, and his mouth barely opened to say them. "I'm a driver. I read patterns for a living. Traffic that slows for no reason, lights that sink or don't, folks who need a beat before they step down." My boy looked like a person who needed a beat before every single thing. That's not normal for him. And if nights were finally that perfect, mornings should have been better, not worse. I didn't say anything yet. Not to Monica, not to Jayden. I let the day run and did my route with the windows cracked to cold air. I told myself I'd give it one more night. One more set of perfect sleep and one more morning to match. If the morning didn't match, I'd have to call it what it was. Not a gift, but a signal. A quiet that hid something I needed to see. The phone rang at 10:27 a.m., right between stops. I let the route finish, pulled over at the layover, and checked the voicemail. "Mr. King, this is Mrs. Carson, school nurse." Jayden nodded, "Off twice this morning." Nothing dramatic, but he looks sluggish. "Could you review his sleep? Give me a call when you can." Her voice was kind, not alarmed, just the kind that makes your stomach dip. I called back from the break room. She told me he'd put his head down during reading, then again during science. No fever, no stomach complaints, just a boy moving through molasses. I thanked her, said we were working on bedtime, promised to keep her posted. When I hung up, the soda machine hummed in the corner, loud in the quiet. I stared at it like it might tell me what to do. That evening I kept my tone even. Kitchen light on low, spaghetti steaming up the window. "Mon," I said, "what changed with bedtime?" He's out so fast now. She twirled pasta, didn't look up. He's growing, she said. He finally sleeps. Her voice was smooth as a hallway wall. I waited. Anything new? Different routine? New tea? She smiled without teeth. No, baby. Same old. Her eyes went past me to the fridge magnets, like she was counting them. I didn't push. I've learned you can win a point and lose the person. I asked Jayden about his day instead. He said recess was fine and the meatloaf was weird. He yawned in the middle of the word weird. After dishes, I watched the house like a man reads weather. Monica packed tomorrow's lunch. Neat rows. She set a thermos near the stove. Not unusual by itself, but it sat just so, like it had a job to do later. She wiped the counter twice, then checked her phone, then wiped it again. I tucked Jayden in at 9. He was heavy-lidded before the second page of the story. I stood in the hall a long minute, listening to nothing. No small feet. No daddy. Just quiet. Thick as wool. I wanted to believe her answer. I wanted to rest in it. But the nurse's voice rode with me, gentle and steady. Review his sleep. So I made a choice that felt small on the outside and big on the inside. I wouldn't accuse. I wouldn't make a scene. I'd watch closer. I'd collect facts the way I collect transfers, one by one, in order, until the pattern showed itself. Then I know how to speak. Then I know what to do. Early next morning, after my first run, I came home to a quiet kitchen. Streetlights still on. House still half asleep. In the sink sat a mug with cocoa dried along the lip. Not the usual ring. This had a thin film, almost slick, and a faint smell that didn't match sugar or chocolate. Herbal. Like tea leaves after rain. I held it close and caught a bitter note under the sweet, the kind that sits in your nose. I rinsed the mug, then stopped, let the water run, and looked again. Tiny flecks clung to the sides where the sponge didn't touch. I turned off the tap, set the mug upside down to drain, marked the spot with my eyes so I'd remember. When Monica came out, hair pulled back, I kept my voice light. What's this from? I asked, tapping the cup. She didn't miss a beat. Just cocoa, she said, reaching for the kettle. She smiled quick and checked the time. You want some? I told her no, kissed her cheek, and let it go. All day, that smell rode with me on the route. Not strong, just a memory that wouldn't fade. After dinner, I wiped the table while Monica packed Jayden's lunch. She set a stainless thermos near the stove. It sat there like it had an appointment. Not by the coffee, not with the water bottles, right where you pour something warm. I didn't make a face, didn't ask a second time. I walked the trash out and took a long breath by the bins, trying to let the cool air clear my head. Back inside, we did the bedtime steps. Bath. Story. Lights down. Jayden went out fast again, almost too neat. Standing in the doorway, I felt both grateful and uneasy. The cup, the smell, the thermos waiting. It all pointed in one direction, but pointing ain't proof. Before I brought heat into my own house, I needed more than a hunch. I needed facts I could hold up to the light and not flinch. So I made up my mind to see, not guess. After my late route, I stopped by the strip mall electronics store where teenagers buy gaming headsets and dads buy batteries. I asked the clerk for a small unit with loop recording, no Wi-Fi, nothing fancy. He showed me a model shaped like a black alarm clock, digital numbers on the front, pinhole lens tucked behind the tint. It ran quiet. Took a micro card. 72 hours if you said it right. I paid cash. Stuck the box under my jacket like it might start talking. At home, I waited till Monica showered. I opened the box slow at the kitchen table, peeled the plastic, read the paper manual twice. Date and time first. If I couldn't trust the clock, I couldn't trust the story. I set it a 24-hour format, so later I wouldn't mix up AM and PM. I slid in the 64 gig card, formatted it. Turned off the indicator light. Set the mic low, enough to catch a whisper at the bed, not a TV 2 rooms over. This wasn't about spying on our lives. It was about one small square of night. Placement mattered. I walked into Jayden's room and stood where I always stand, at the end of the bed, hands on the rail. Bookshelf faced the door at a soft angle. Top shelf held a stack of Captain underpants and a scuffed black clock that hadn't worked since July. I swapped the broken clock for the new one. The lens sat where the old face had been. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know. I crouched to test angles. Bed in frame. Door in frame. Night light out of the glare, so the picture wouldn't ghost. I plugged the cord behind a shelf, ran along the baseboard, taped it so little feet wouldn't catch. I set motion sensitivity to medium. No need to record a curtain breathe, but added a timer so it would roll from 8 to midnight no matter what, then again for 5 to 7. If anything happened at tuck-in or right before dawn, I'd have it. For a minute, I just stood there listening to my own heart. I hated the secret. It tasted like pennies in my mouth. But I picture my boy at the table, blinking slow, missing his chair, and I pictured a cup that smelled like a garden after rain. Trust is a door. Safety is a lock. A good father keeps both in working order. When Monica called from the hall, "You coming to bed?" I said, "Yeah, 1 SEC," and slipped the last bit of tape flat with my thumb. I checked the clock again. Numbers steady, tiny red on the back, I'd already covered with a scrap of electrical tape. I clicked record, then loop, then stepped away empty-handed, like leaving a fishing line in dark water. We did our routine. Teeth, story, prayer, kiss on the forehead. Jayden rolled to the cool side of the pillow. I turned off the lamp and let the room settle. In the doorway, I looked once more at the shelf. It looked like a shelf. That was the point. Back in our room, Monica scrolled her phone with the brightness low. "You good?" she asked. I said, "Yeah." And I wanted it to be true. But under the blanket, my palms were damp. I watched the ceiling and counted my breaths. One for trust, one for truth, hoping those two could live next to each other till morning. The next afternoon, on my break, I pulled the card and watched the first night. The clock stamped 8:57 p.m. lights low. Jayden on his side, knees tucked, the dog nightlight glowing at his feet. At 9:12, Monica eased in, a shoulder at the door like she didn't want the hinge to speak. She straightened the blanket, smooth as hair once, whispered a few bars of that old church lullaby her mom used to sing. No cup, no bottle, no dropper flash. She sat a minute, head bowed, then left. The picture held steady, just the slow rise of his back and the soft sweep of the fan shadow on the wall. I scrubbed forward to 10:40. Nothing but sleep. Past midnight, still nothing. At 5:31 a.m., Jayden flipped his pillow and hugged it like a teddy. The room stayed quiet. I let the video play to the end. My chest loosened some. Maybe I'd wire myself too tight. I loaded night 2. Same calm start. 9:05, Monica peeked in, tucked the sheet corner, kissed his forehead, whispered, "Good night, baby." Her hands were empty. She didn't linger. After she left, the image settled into that small house hush I know so well. Air vent breathing, curtain edge lifting and laying down. By lunchtime, I was almost ready to call it nerves. Tell myself the cocoa cup had a story I didn't know, and not every puzzle needs solving. But on the way home, I caught that faint herbal note again in my head, the way a tune sticks after church. I couldn't shake it, so I set the clock back on the shelf, cleared the card, and left the setup in place for one more night. Not to spy, to make sure. One more look before I spoke, so the words I carried into my kitchen would be the kind that stand up under light. Next day, after my last loop, I sat in the depot break room with the card on my old laptop. The screen showed 9:20 p.m., room dim, dog nightlight glowing, Jayden curled on his side. At 9:25, the door eased open. Monica slipped in with a stainless thermos held close to her chest and a blue mug pinched by the handle. She set the thermos on the dresser, moved like she knew where every squeak lived. She poured. Steam rose. Then she reached into her sweater pocket and pulled a small amber bottle, dropper top, label I couldn't read. She twisted it open, tilted the dropper over the cocoa, counted under her breath. I couldn't hear numbers, just the rhythm, then let 3, maybe 4 drops fall. She stirred with a spoon from her other pocket. Slow circle, tap on the rim, the kind of careful you use when you don't want noise or questions. She leaned over him, touched his shoulder. "Hey, baby," she whispered, soft as a hymn. Couple sips, then sleep. Jayden blinked, smacked his lips, propped himself on an elbow. She slid an arm behind him and lifted the mug to his mouth. He drank 2 swallows, maybe 3, set his head back. She kept a hand on his chest like she was holding the world steady while it settled. I watched his eyelids. They sagged fast, heavy like someone had laid pennies on them. His breathing smoothed into that deep, even tide I knew from car seat naps. 30 seconds, a minute, he was gone to the bottom. Monica sat on the edge of the bed a moment, eyes on his face, thumb rubbing a small circle on his shoulder the way she did when he was teething. She put the mug on the dresser, wiped the spoon with a tissue, slipped the bottle back into her pocket. Then she stood, brushed his hair once, and left the room the same way she came, quiet, careful, door barely kissing the frame. I rewound, watched it again, counted the drops with my own lips moving this time. 3, 4. I paused where the label swung and still couldn't read it. I zoomed in on the mug, on her hand, on the line of steam that went thin and then was gone. My stomach did that small elevator drop you get when the bus brakes hard. Hands cold, jaw tight. I ran it a third time, hoping the loop would change if I gave it another chance. It didn't. It was real. It was right there on the screen. The thermos, the dropper, my boy's heavy eyes. I closed the laptop and sat with it. No noise in the room, but the vending machine humming. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to spit blame. But the morning would not pass like any other. I was going to bring it up plain and straight, with the facts I had, because whatever this was, it had our son in the middle of it, and that meant it had to stop. I came home quiet. The house smelled like toast. Monica was at the table with her planner open, pen tucked behind her ear, hair pulled tight. Jayden was still sleeping. I poured coffee and didn't drink it. "Mon," I said, sitting across from her, "I need the truth." Her eyes flicked up, then down to the planner boxes. "About what?" "About what you're giving him at night." She froze a beat. Then she reached into her tote and set 2 things on the table. An amber bottle with a dropper and a plastic jar of melatonin gummies. Bright label, soft colors like a bedtime book. She didn't touch them. "Just let them sit there between us. It's a natural sleep tincture," she said, voice steady but small. "And melatonin. Kids dose." I read reviews. "It's gentle. Folks use it all the time." "How long?" "A week." She swallowed. "Maybe 8, 9 days." I looked at the bottle. The sticker said calming blend. The print below was so fine you'd need a lamp to read it. "You've seen him in the morning," I said. "Foggy. Slow. Nurse called yesterday." "I know," she whispered. "I know. Why didn't you tell me?" She rubbed the edge of the planner with her thumb. "Because I'm on probation at work, Darryl. Because I'm up at 5 and my head's got to be clear or I'm gone. Because he's never slept and I'm—" She stopped, breath catching. "You don't see how hard this is for me." I let the words sit. I thought about her shaking hands, the supervisor with the bullet points, the nights that ate our mornings. "I do see you," I said. "I see you dead on your feet and still making lunches. I see you try to hold this house together. But I also see our boy moving like he's underwater. That's the cost. And anything we give him, anything, needs a doctor behind it." She looked at the tincture like it might answer for her. "It's a small dose," she said. "I count the drops. 3, sometimes 4. He sleeps. I sleep. We're not fighting at 2 a.m. I thought." Her voice thinned. "I thought I found a way to make it through." I reached across the table, palm up. She didn't take it, but she didn't pull back. "We make it through by doing this with eyes open," I said. "Together. Not in secret. Not with our son as the test. We're not bad people, Mon. We're tired people. But tired people still need guardrails." She nodded once, sharp, like a person bracing for a wave. "What do we do?" "Pediatrician," I said. "Today. We lay it all out. No shame, no spin. We ask for a plan that keeps him safe and gets us rest." Her shoulders dropped. A long breath. "Okay." I picked up the bottle and turned it to catch the light. The liquid clung to the glass. I sat back down. "No more drops. No gummies," I said. "Okay," she said again, softer. We sat there in the quiet. Toast smell fading. Planner open to a day that had just changed shape. I texted the clinic for a same-day slot. Monica got Jayden's clothes together and went to wake him slow, without a mug, without a thermos. I rinsed 2 cups in the sink, hands steady now that the next step had an aim. "Today. We go today." We got a 2:40 p.m. with Dr. Gutierrez over at Stony Creek. Waiting room, fish tank, soft chairs, a basket of bent kids' books. Jayden leaned on my side and toyed with the zipper on my jacket. Monica filled out a form, wrote neat block letters like she was back in school. In the exam room, the doctor came in with a kind face and a tie that had tiny bicycles on it. He asked open questions and let the quiet stretch so we could fill it. We told him the long story, restless since birth, the routines we built, the last week of sleeping too well, the slow mornings. I didn't hide anything about the drops or the gummies. Monica didn't either. She said it straight and kept her gaze up, even when her voice thinned. Dr. Gutierrez nodded, made notes. First thing, he said, even natural can do harm if the timing or dose is wrong, or if the child doesn't need it. Melatonin, tinctures, without guidance, they can make a kid groggy, fog his mornings, and mask what's really going on. I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to put rails on the road. He walked us through a plan like he'd build 1,000 of them. We start with sleep hygiene. Simple, boring, powerful. He held up a finger for each step. Early dinner. By 6, if you can. Warm bath. No bubbles that smell like a candy shop. Reading instead of screens. The brain needs a downshift. No devices after 7 p.m. That's firm. Nightlight is fine. Low and steady. Keep the room cool. 68 to 70 degrees. In the morning, blinds open and bodies moving. Sunlight wakes the brain better than coffee. And I want a sleep log, bedtime, any wake-ups, first words in the morning. 1 page per day. He printed a sheet and circled the boxes. Bedtime. Woke at. Total hours. Morning mood. Sunny, cloudy, stormy. You're not hunting perfection, he said. You're looking for patterns. Then he turned to us. Parents need support too. Monica, I'm referring you to our counselor for job stress and those migraines. Short sessions. Concrete tools. Darryl, I want you running the bedtime routine this week. Same steps, same voice, same time. Consistency beats clever. He looked at the amber bottle I'd set on the counter. Hard line, he said gently. No hidden additives. No gummies. If we ever consider supplements, we'll do it together, with dose and timing, and only if the behavior tells us we need it. For now, we don't. Jayden swung his feet off the exam table and asked if the fish in the lobby had names. The doctor smiled and said, the striped one is Gus. That made Jayden grin for the first time that day. We asked the nervous parent questions. What if he wakes at 2? How long do we sit with him? What if school calls again? Dr. Gutierrez answered in plain steps. If he wakes, keep lights low. Offer water. Sit nearby. Don't start long talks. No new snacks. If he's scared, name it, breathe together, then back to bed. School calls. Tell them we're working a plan. I'll send a note. He clicked the follow-up into his computer. 7 to 10 days. Bring the log. If it's messy, that's fine. Messy is honest. We adjust from there. At checkout, the receptionist handed us a printout labeled Jayden, Sleep Plan, Week 1. It wasn't magic. It was work. But it was work we could see. In the parking lot, Monica stood with the paper in both hands like it might blow away. Okay, she said, more to herself than to me. We can do this. We will, I said. And for the first time in a long stretch, I believed it. That night we ran the doctor's playbook like it was a recipe. Early supper at 5:30, chicken, rice, green beans. No dessert fuss. At 6:15 Jayden took a warm bath. I swapped bubble soap for plain. We kept the bathroom lights soft and the hallway darker to lead him toward quiet. By 6:45 we were in his room, blinds down, little dog nightlight on. The screen fight came right on cue. He asked for his tablet, half whine, half hope. I told him we were trying something new, doctor's orders. After 7, no screens, I said. We'll read instead. He crossed his arms, bottom lip out, then reached for the drawer where he hides the game controller. I put my hand on it and shook my head. I'm here with you, I said, simple as that. Monica stayed in the doorway, backing me up with a small nod and nothing extra. We picked a book with short chapters. I read slow. He tried to bargain for just one video during a chapter break. I repeated the boundary and let the silence sit. Boundaries sound bigger when you're not filling the air. He sighed, rolled to his side, and listened. By 7:30 he'd softened. By 8 he was settled enough for me to start the closing steps. Lamp down, fan on low, a glass of water within reach. We did 5 breaths together, counting in, holding, letting go. He yawned on the third and smiled at his own body betraying him. I stayed in the chair by his bed, logged the times on Dr. Gutierrez's sheet. Lights out, 8:12. Asleep, 8:34. He woke once at 11:06, sat up, blinked around, asked for Mama. I kept the room dim, touched his shoulder, said, "I'm here." We did 2 breaths. He lay back down. By 11:12 he was out again. I wrote it down, woke, 6 minutes, back to sleep. Morning came a shade easier. He shuffled less. Ate half the oatmeal without a reminder. Eyes still soft at the edges, but focused enough to tell me a joke he'd half remembered all week. I circled, partly sunny, on the mood line and taped the sheet to the fridge. Night 2 went smoother. We started the same way. Early dinner, bath book. He tested the no screens rule once, quick as a tap on glass, and let it go when he saw the answer hadn't changed. We added the 4-7-8 breathing Miss Evelyn taught us. He liked counting the 7, said it felt like holding a balloon. Lights out at 8:07. Asleep by 8:22. No wake up this time. I sat in the chair until his breath had that slow wave to it, then eased out like a man leaving a dock without rocking the boat. The next morning was brighter still. He came to the table steady, reached for toast first, asked if Gus, the striped fish at the clinic, was real or just a name for all striped fish. He laughed at his own question. I marked Sunny on the log and underlined it once. Monica kissed the top of his head on her way out the door and mouthed, "Thank you," at me over his shoulder. I didn't say anything back. I just tapped the pen against the paper like a metronome, keeping time with this new rhythm we were trying to learn. Back when Jayden was brand new, sleep had already been a tug of war. He'd arch his back with colic, little body mad at the world for reasons it couldn't say. I walked grooves in our carpet, holding him upright against my chest, his breath hot on my collarbone, his cry bouncing off the hallway pictures. The old rocker by the window turned into my second home. I learned it squeak like a hymn, creak forward, creak back. Counting past midnight like that would bribe the clock. At 2 in the morning, I used to strap him into the car seat and drive slow loops past the diner and the dartball field. Street lights slid over his cheeks. Engine hum would pull him down, finally. I'd park in our driveway with the radio low and sit there another 20 minutes, afraid to carry him in and lose the spell. Grandma Harris had her list. Swaddle him tighter. Loosen it, he got a kick. Warm bottle. No bottle, a little water. She swore by a dab of peppermint on the feet, then switched to lavender on the pillow. Some nights it helped. Some nights it made the room smell like a garden party where nobody came. We tried white noise apps, then upgraded to a box fan that rattled on high and fell honest. We darkened the room with blankets over the blinds and then tore them down when the dark made him cry. We learned burps the hard way and reflux the harder way. When he finally settled, he'd sleep like a fallen tree, solid, heavy, no warning. Then pop awake again 40 minutes later like he remembered something urgent. Monica kept a notebook then, too. She tracked feeds and naps and what color the onesies were, hoping a pattern would show. On the worst week, she cried in the shower, so he wouldn't hear. On the best week, she smiled with chapped lips and said, "Maybe this is it." And we'd nod like fools who wanted to believe. All that history sat under us now, the way bedrock sits under a house. It didn't excuse what she'd reached for last week, but it explained the reach, the muscle memory of 2 people who'd been tired for a very long time, grabbing at the first thing that promised silence. At Monica's job, the day moved in boxes. She checked intake reports, line by line, made sure the warehouse counts matched what the truck swore they brought. Shipments hit the screen with timestamps and little color codes, green for on time, yellow for late, red for somebody's going to ask about this. Her supervisor, Ms. Delgado, talked and clipped bullets at the morning huddle, 2 short pallets on Dock C, correct the carrier code, call before 10. The young crew tapped keys like piano players. No one liked to be the one who slowed the song. Monica kept a sticky note stuck to her monitor with the 4 things she could not mess up: bill of lading, signature, unit count, date. She checked them twice, then once more, running her finger under the numbers the way you do when you don't trust your eyes. Around 9:30, she reached for a carton on the file cart, and her hand shook. Not a tremor, just a little quiver that rattled the staples in the box. She pressed her thumb to her wrist and breathed through her nose till it passed. Before that first quiet night, she told me she felt fogged by noon, like her head was one room behind her body. After that quiet night, she came home different. Eyes clear, mouth soft at the corners. "I finished the cycle count before lunch," she said, surprised at herself. Next morning she ironed her blouse and hummed while the coffee dripped. She left 10 minutes early, said she wanted to get a jump on the doc notes. That feeling, steady hands, brain clicking in a gear, was its own kind of mercy. So when the clock hit 9 p.m. and the house was quiet again, I can see why she guarded whatever got her there. At work, one missed digit could spin a truck back down the highway. Ms. Delgado didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "We own the error," she'd say, tapping the screen. "Fix it and keep it moving." But probation meant every error wore a spotlight. Monica told me about a Tuesday where a carrier called and a last-minute change. She had to update 3 systems and 2 emails while the dock crew stood waiting on her numbers. She did it clean, under pressure, and the warehouse radio crackled on. "We're good, roll it." She held that one like a pebble in her pocket all day, turning it with her thumb. That night she stared a beat too long at the thermos on the counter, then put it in the cabinet, then took it back out again. Habit meets fear in small motions. I'm not excusing it. I'm saying I understand the math she was doing in her head. Quiet nights equal clear mornings. Clear mornings equal keeping the job. Keeping the job equals holding the roof over our heads. When your life is that tight, every variable feels like a threat. And the drops, those tiny drops, looked like control in a bottle. That's the part that scares me most. Not the bottle itself, but how easy it is to believe in it when you're running on fumes. That week Miss Evelyn stepped in. She lived 2 doors down, retired kindergarten aide with a voice that could smooth a wrinkle out of your day. I asked if she'd sit with Jayden at bedtime while we got our new routine right. She said, "Baby, I've been putting little folks to sleep since '83. Show me where the books are." We made small, steady changes. I set a cup of water on a nightstand, so he didn't have to climb out for a sip. We swapped the harsh lamp for a sunrise bulb that warmed the room from peach to soft gold over 10 minutes. Miss Evelyn showed him that 4-7-8 breath. 4 in, hold 7, slow 8 out. Counted on her fingers like a secret game. Jayden liked the hold. Said it felt like catching a bubble and not letting it pop. She read in a whisper, not baby talk, real voice, low and even. Some nights it was Henry Huggins. Some nights Psalms, the short ones that sound like walking home after dark with a porch light waiting. If he got jumpy, she didn't make a fuss. She just put a palm on the quilt and said, "I'm right here." Then she'd hum the tail of a hymn only the grown-ups knew the words to. I logged everything. Lights out 8:10. Asleep 8:28. One wake up at 12:03. Back down by 12:08 after 2 breaths and a sip of water. Next night, asleep 8:24, no wake-ups. The log started to look like a good road. Fewer potholes, longer stretches of smooth. Morning shifted a notch. Jayden slid into his chair without missing it. He buttered toast without zoning out midway. He asked if Gus the fish would remember him. He laughed at his own thought. I circled partly sunny, then put a little star next to it, because I am that kind of dad when the weather in my house finally changes. Monica came by the door while Miss Evelyn packed her sweater into that giant purse. "Thank you," she told her, eyes shiny in the soft light. Miss Evelyn patted her hand. "You two been carrying a load. Ain't nothing wrong with setting it down right." That night, after we walked Miss Evelyn to the porch, the house felt different. Lighter, like someone had opened a vent you didn't know was there. Jayden brushed his teeth without a fuss, picked one book and stuck to it, did the breath count with me like a pro. When he drifted off, he stayed off. I sat in the chair a few extra minutes anyway, watching his shoulders rise and fall, the sunrise bulb now dim as a nightlight. In the morning, he wanted oatmeal with extra cinnamon and told me his dream, a red bus that could swim like a fish. He spooned up the last bite and grinned, cinnamon on his lip. It was a small thing, that smile, but it was the first sweet sign that the fog might finally be lifting. That afternoon, I called my brother. Leon worked over at the tire shop on Route 12. Hands always a little black at the knuckles, voice steady like a floor jack. I told him everything. The drops, the camera in the clock, the appointment with Dr. Gutierrez, Miss Evelyn and her quiet magic. I said it straight and let the shame sit between sentences. Leon didn't swing at me. Didn't swing at Monica either. He listened, breathing on the line, radio low in the background. All right, he said finally. Y'all been white-knuckling it. Boundaries and help. That's the pair. What's that look like to you? I asked. First, no more secrets. You already fixed that. Second, write your rules where you can see 'em. Fridge note, not in your head. I heard him wipe his palms on a rag. Third, you two need a night to talk like grown folks. No dishes. No bedtime. No little ears. I don't know where we'd put him, I said. Here, Leon said, like that part was obvious. I'll take Jayden Saturday or Sunday, don't matter which. I'll wear him out on the hoops at the rec, feed him spaghetti, let him fall out in the recliner watching old cartoons. You and Mon go walk or sit on that river wall and say the hard stuff without whispering. I stood by our back door, looking at the thin line of maple trees along the fence. You sure? Man, he said, laughing soft, he's my nephew. Plus I got a free pass to eat ice cream for dinner if I blame him. I told Monica that evening. She was folding shirts on the bed, clean cotton stacked in careful towers. When I said Leon offered a kid-free night, her hand stilled for a second on Jayden's pajama top. I'd like that, she said, not looking up yet. I like to talk without clock watching. We settle on Saturday. I texted Leon the plan, and he sent back a thumbs up and a basketball emoji he uses too much. After Jayden went down, I wrote a few lines on a sticky note and stuck it to the fridge like Leon said. Dinner 6, bath warm. Read, no screens after 7. Breaths, water on nightstand. Ask for help before shortcuts. It looked simple in black ink. The living of it was the work. Friday night, I packed a small backpack for Jayden. Sweats, socks, his lucky orange hoodie. Monica tucked his headphones in the side pocket and slipped a note in with a cartoon bus. Have fun. Be kind. We met eyes over the zipper. No speeches. Just a quiet agreement that the next conversation between us needed space, not walls. Saturday morning the house felt like a stage being set. Lighter, waiting. Leon pulled up in his dented blue pickup, horn tapping that same two-note hello from when we were kids. Jayden hooped, grabbed his bag, and ran for the steps. He turned back for a second and said, "Can Gus the fish come?" We laughed, and the laugh landed easy. Go breathe, Leon told me at the door. Chin up, a half smile under his mustache. Go say the real things. I nodded. I watched them drive off, taillights winking at the end of Maple Grove. Then I turned to Monica and said, "Let's take that walk." That night, after Leon texted a photo of Jayden passed out in the recliner with spaghetti on his shirt, the house went quiet in a way it hadn't in years. Monica showered and lay down with a book. I sat at the kitchen table with my old laptop, the little memory card between my fingers like a coin I didn't want to spend. I queued up the clip. 9:25 p.m. I wrote it down. I watched her pour, steady as a metronome. I counted the drops this time out loud in a whisper. 1, 2, 3, maybe a fourth. I rewound, slowed it, watched the tiny meniscus rise and fall at the tip of the dropper. My stomach pulled tight. My jaw ached the way it does when you've been clenching all day without knowing. The feelings didn't line up. Anger came first, hot and simple. Then pity slid under it, because I knew that posture she wore, the tired woman trying to keep the world from rattling apart. Fear threaded the middle. What if we'd missed a worse sign? What if his body had said no, and we weren't listening? And guilt, thick and metallic, because I had hidden a camera in my boys' room and let it sit there like a secret judge. I paused the frame where her hand rested on Jayden's chest, thumb drawing that little circle she's done since the teething nights. That was love. The bottle in her pocket didn't erase that. It made the love scared and clumsy, but it was still love. I let the video run to the end and closed the lid. I told myself the truth I could carry. We had a plan now. The doctor's rails were on the road. Jayden was already brighter in the mornings. Miss Evelyn had given us a rhythm. My job was to work the plan and watch, not to dig new holes in ground we just leveled. I decided I'd tell Monica about the camera when we were standing on firmer ground, when the log showed more good nights than bad, when a confession wouldn't feel like an ambush but like a hard piece of honesty we could sit with. Not to keep the secret forever, to keep it from doing harm on its way out. I put the card back in the drawer with the rubber bands and the takeout menus. I washed my hands though they weren't dirty. Then I went to our room and lay beside my wife. Her book had slipped to her chest. I turned off the light and listened to the house breathe. Refrigerator, heater, the faint hum of the street. I kept watch the way a father does when the storm seems past, but the skies still hold a color you don't trust. Sunday afternoon, we met Pastor Ray at New Hope. He led us to a small side room, off the fellowship hall. 2 chairs, a couch, a pot of coffee that had been sitting just long enough to taste honest. He asked how we were holding up. We told him, plain, about the rough years, the last week, the doctor's plan, the better mornings. He listened with his hands folded, then said, "Let's put some rails on this so you don't have to keep inventing the road while you're driving it." He took a yellow pad and wrote as he talked. Rule 1. Any change in Jayden's care, you speak first. No solo fixes, even the good ones, especially the quick ones. Rule 2, he said, tapping his pen. If things dip, call the doctor. Don't go hunting shortcuts. You're not weak for asking. You're wise. He drew a little box and wrote, sleep log. Rule 3. Both of you keep this going. Shared log means shared truth. It pulls the story out of your heads and onto paper where you can hold it without arguing about memory. Rule 4, he added, monitoring only by mutual consent and for a set time. Not forever. Not a habit. A tool, used carefully, then put away. I felt the weight of what I hadn't said yet. The room was quiet enough to hear the hallway clock. Pastor, I told him. I hid a camera. In a clock. I wanted facts before a fight. He nodded once, not startled. Secret cost, he said, voice low. Sometimes less than a blow-up. Sometimes more. The grace is in telling at the right moment, when you can repent without turning the truth into another wound. I asked him how to know when that moment was. He said, when your confession builds the house instead of setting another room on fire. When you're not using it to win, but to be clean. Monica stared at her hands, then up at me. I don't want to live with eyes over my shoulder, she said. But I don't want our son unsafe either. Pastor Ray underlined the last rule. So pick a horizon together, he said. Mutual consent. Set time. Clear goal. Then hold to it the way you hold a steering wheel in the rain. Firm, not white-knuckled. We agreed. Right there. Any change in care, we talk first. If sleep slips, we call Dr. Gutierrez before anything else. The log stays on the fridge and belongs to both of us. And monitoring, if used, happens only with both our yes and a sunset date written next to it. Before we left, Pastor prayed short and steady. No fancy words, just a request for mercy and courage. We walked out into the late light, the church steps warm underfoot. The rules didn't solve the whole thing, but they gave us a frame. You can hang a life on a frame while you fix what's crooked, and that's what we meant to do. A few nights later, with the log showing more sunny than cloudy, I picked my moment. Jayden was out by 8:20. The house was quiet except for the fan. Monica sat at the table, shoes off, rubbing that place on her wrist where the watch leaves a mark. I set 2 mugs down and sat across from her. I need to add one more thing to our frame, I said, about how I learned what was happening. Her eyes narrowed, not me, just bracing. Okay. I put a camera in Jayden's room, I said, hidden inside a clock. I wanted facts before I came at you with a feeling. I told her exactly what I saw. The thermos, the drops, the way his eyelids fell. I gave the timestamp. I didn't dress it up or make it worse. I just laid it out. She went still. Then her face flushed, and she pushed back from the table like someone had slid the ground a half-inch. You filmed our son. You filmed me. Without telling me. The hurt in her voice made the air thin. You broke my trust. I know, I said. I did. And I'm sorry. I'll let the sorry sit. I was scared, Mon. I saw the mornings. I smelled that cup. And I didn't want to accuse you and be wrong. I wanted proof, so I wouldn't make it uglier. She stood, paced to the sink, and pressed both hands on the counter. Her shoulders rose, held, then dropped. When she turned back, her eyes were wet and clear, not wild. I was wrong with the drops, she said. I did that. I kept it from you. I told myself it was small and safe and for the family, but I hid it. That's on me. We stood there in the quiet, the two of us with our separate sins touching edges. Pastor's words came back like a rail under us. Honesty, boundaries. No more secrets, I said. Any change, we talk first. And if sleep dips, she added, we called Dr. Gutierrez. Not the internet. Not the cabinet. I nodded. About the camera, I said. What do we do now? She wiped her cheek with the heel of her hand. We've got the follow-up next week. Decide after that, she said. I don't want eyes on me forever, but I want our boy safe. If the doctor says we're steady, we take it down. If he wants more data, we talk about a timeline. That's fair, I said. We wrote the line on the fridge under the sleep log. Camera decision after follow-up. Mutual yes, with an end date. Then we stood a while in that small kitchen like folks who had finally told the whole truth and were waiting to see if the roof would hold. It did. Not because we were perfect, because the frame was there and we were standing on it together. That next week the log started looking like a good road. Bedtime slid earlier by a few minutes each night. 8:10, 8:06, 8:02, and he dropped off faster. 8:28, then 8:22, then 8:19. Wake-ups almost vanished. One blip at 12:41 on Tuesday, back down by 12:46 after 2 slow breaths and a sip of water. I circled the times in blue and wrote little notes in the margin. Quiet feet, no bargaining, asked for psalm. School sent better weather reports too. Mrs. Carson said he hadn't put his head down once. His teacher emailed a line that read like sunlight. Jayden finished his reading page without reminders today. He even raised his hand to help pass out folders. Small job, big grin. At recess, he ran again. Not fast, not wild. Just a boy moving the way boys should. Monica made her 2 counseling sessions and came home with real tools, not slogans. She set alarms on her phone for water and a 5-minute stretch at mid-morning. She learned a body check for the end of her shift, shoulders, jaw, breath, so she didn't carry the office home. Evenings, she practiced a wind down that looked like nothing much. Tea, a lamp instead of the overhead, phone face down across the room. It added up. Her voice came out softer at 9 p.m., not thin and frayed. We planned our days on paper instead of in our heads. She blocked her reports for the morning when her brain was sharp. I swapped one early route for a later one midweek, so I could anchor bedtime 3 nights in a row. We built in pauses, a real dinner at the table, a 10-minute walk after dishes, lights lower by 7. The house felt like it took a breath and kept it. Jayden noticed, in his way. He asked fewer, what-if questions at night. He told longer stories at breakfast, with all the parts in order. He ate, laughed, tied his own shoes without drifting. When I tucked him in, he reached for the water by habit, did the 4-7-8 with a smile, and said, "See you in the morning," like he believed it. By Friday, the fridge held a week of tidy boxes, bedtimes, no wake-ups, Sunny checked more than not. Monica tapped the page with her fingernail and said, half to herself, "This is what stable looks like." I nodded. The house didn't feel nervous anymore. It felt lived in and steady, like a bus on a straight stretch with both hands easy on the wheel. Monday after that, I stopped by school at pickup and asked for 5 minutes. Ms. Alvarez, his teacher, brought me into a room that smelled like dry erase and crayons. She had the day's math up on the board and a stack of penguin essays drying on the ledge. I told her we'd made changes at home and asked how Jayden looked from her side. Brighter, she said right away. He tracks directions the first time more often, raises his hand, waits his turn. He even reminded Marcus to line up. She smiled at that. When he drifts, it's short. A tap on the desk brings him back. I asked about mornings, the rough spot we'd been living. He comes in a little quiet, she said, but within 10 minutes he's warmed up. No head-down moments this past week. She slid a folder across to show me 2 clean reading sheets with tidy check marks. He's proud of these. I thanked her and said what I needed to say out loud. If you see a backslide, anything, please flag me. Call, email, send a note. I want the truth quick, not late. She nodded and wrote my number again on a sticky note, even though she already had it. On the way out, I popped into the nurse's office. Mrs. Carson had Band-Aids in neat rows and a little frog poster about washing hands. She checked her log and shook her head with a small smile. No visits for sleepiness, she said. He came by once for a paper cut and left laughing. She asked if we'd figured something out at home. I told her we'd worked a plan with the pediatrician. Routine, screens off, breathing, the whole bit. Keep doing it, she said. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I took those words like a stamp from the outside world. It wasn't just our kitchen talking, not just my hopeful pen marks on a fridge chart. Someone who saw him under fluorescent lights and multiplication facts saw the change too. On the sidewalk, I watched Jayden come out with his line. He walked instead of drifted, backpack zipped, hair sticking up at the back like a wheat tuft. He waved with his whole arm when he spotted me. Daddy, I was helper, he said, bouncing once on his toes. I put a hand on his shoulder and felt a simple thing I hadn't felt in a while. Plain old relief that matched the facts, not just the wish. We took that feeling and the sleep log to Dr. Gutierrez. Monica held the clipboard like a report card we hoped would pass. I flipped the pages while we waited. Bedtimes tightening, wake-ups shrinking to dashes. Sunny. Checked more days than not. The doctor came in smiling. He scanned the log the way a mechanic listens to an engine. This is good work, he said, tapping a week with no wake-ups. Not luck, work. He put a line down the paper with his pen. Now let's define stable so you know when you're there. 2 to 3 straight weeks of smooth bedtimes. Within 15 minutes of target. Minimal wake-ups, quick settle. No snacks, no screens. Bright mornings, kid eats, talks, focuses within the first half hour. Hit those, you're stable. He circled our routine. Keep it. Dinner early, bath warm, reading instead of shows. Screens in daylight only and on a timer. Think homework first, play second, off by early evening. Keep the room cool. Keep that morning light coming in. And keep the log even when it's boring. Boring is how we know it holds. Monica asked about birthdays and exceptions. Celebrate, he said. Then return to the rails the next night. The body forgives the occasional party if the pattern's sound. I asked what to do if he woke it too and wanted to talk about monsters. Name the fear, he said. 2 breaths together, hand on the back to bed. If it's a pattern, we adjust the day. More movement, less sugar, same bedtime. We talked about his mood at school. I shared Mrs. Carson's note and the teacher's folder. He nodded like a man hearing both sides of the same song. That matches what I see here, he said, tapping the chart. Then I asked the question I brought in my pocket, about video. Any medical reason to keep recording? He shook his head. No medical need, he said plainly. If monitoring helps you feel safe a bit longer, that's a family decision. But long term, I'd rather you trust the routine and the data you can gather without a lens. This log, teacher feedback, how he wakes. He printed a new sheet titled, Weeks 2, 3, Maintain and Confirm. At the bottom he wrote, hand neat, stability equals 14 to 21 days meeting targets. He signed it like a promise. In the parking lot, Monica traced that line with her finger. 2 to 3 weeks, she said. We're already 1 in. We keep going, I said. Same rails. She looked lighter in the face, less braced, more here. I put the packet in the glove box like something worth keeping safe. We drove home quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't scare you, and let the afternoon sun do its slow work across the dashboard. That night, after dishes, Monica stood in the hallway by Jayden's door and looked at the bookshelf. She didn't go in. She just stared at that black clock like it was a photograph from a bad season. "Let's take it down," she said, voice even. "We promised no secrets. Things are steady. That camera keeps reminding me of my mistake." I leaned on the doorframe, hands in my pockets. Part of me wanted to reach up, yank the cord, and be done. Another part felt my father bones answer back. "Be careful." I pictured those first mornings. Slow eyes, heavy feet, the nurse's call. I also picture the log on our fridge, neat lines, sunny boxes, the doctor's definition of stable. Two truths pulling. "I hear you," I said. "I want our house to feel like home, not a checkpoint. But I'm responsible for him. For both of you." We talked it through like grown folks, not sparring partners. I laid out the path so we could see them playing. "Option A," I said, holding up a finger. "We take it down now. No monitor, no nothing. Trust the routine and the log." Option B, second finger. "We keep the device for 14 more days. Monitor only. No recording. No archive. Just eyes on the room at bedtime and dawn." Option C, third finger. "Alerts only. Sound or motion pings to my phone. No video saved. Like a baby monitor with manners." Option D, fourth finger. "We remove the device tonight, but keep the sleep log tight and post a nightly checklist on the fridge so we're tracking without a lens." Monica listened, arms crossed, not defensive, just guarding the sore spot. "A or D feel like trust," she said. "B or C feel like a cast after the bones, already set." She touched her wrist where her watch would be. "I don't want to live like I'm on probation in my own house." I nodded. "I don't want you to either." I glanced at Jayden sleeping easy, mouth open a little, breath steady. "I just don't want to miss a slide if it comes." We stood there with the quiet between us, the good kind turning thin at the edges. "Here's what I'll do," I said finally. "I'm going to ask folks, parents, neighbors, people who've been where we are. I'll listen. Then you and I decide together. No surprises. No secret flips of a switch." She let her shoulders drop. "Okay," she said. "Together." I reached up and set the clock to screen off, so no glow showed on the shelf. I left the cord where it was and the log where it's been, front and center on the fridge. "We'll make the call after I hear from y'all," I said, mostly to myself, but also to whoever's listening now. "And when we do, we'll put a date next to it. A real one." Next morning, while coffee dripped, I dug in like a man balancing a checkbook. I pulled the crumpled grocery slips from our junk drawer, gas, milk, a rotisserie chicken, and found 2 pharmacy receipts tucked between takeout menus. Dates lined up with that bad week. I circled them, then checked our banking app to match charges. Same store, same total, 2 separate runs. I wrote the brand names down exact, spellings and all. At lunch I drove to the pharmacy. Bell over the door, floor squeak, all's neat as a hymn book. I asked for the pharmacist, not the aisle advice. A young man with square glasses came out from behind the counter and folded his hands on the ledge like we were about to pray. "How about a 7-year-old?" I said. "Sleep has been rough. My wife tried a natural calming tincture and melatonin gummies. Kids dose. I want straight talk on dosing and risk." He didn't flinch. "Melatonin isn't candy," he said. "It's a hormone signal. Wrong timing or dose can cause morning grogginess, headaches, vivid dreams. For kids, you only use it when a clinician says so, and even then, with a stop date." He scanned the tincture brand I'd written. "This one's a blend, multiple botanicals. Labels can be vague. Potency varies by batch. Interactions happen. I don't recommend any of this for a child without a pediatrician guiding you." "What about tiny amounts?" I pushed. "Tiny without a plan is still a guess," he said. "If your child wakes foggy, that's your answer." I asked about safer steps. He listed the same rails Dr. Gutierrez gave us: routine, screens off, breath work, light in the morning, and added, "If those fail, that's when you loop the doctor back in." I bought nothing. I signed nothing. I thanked him and walked out with empty hands and a clear head. Sun hit the lot bright and honest. I sat in the truck and wrote one more line under our fridge rules, No over-the-counter sleep aids for Jayden without MD approval. Period. On the way home, I swung by the school just to watch recess a minute. Jayden and two boys were chasing a ball, hair sticking up, cheeks flushed, awake in a way that matters. I let that image fix the lesson in me. Even gentle-sounding stuff can bend a small morning out of shape. Back in our kitchen, I taped the receipts to the back of the sleep log, not as evidence against my wife, but as a reminder to both of us of where not to go again. DIY meds are off the table. Rails only. If we need help, we ask a grown-up who wears a badge for it. Leon took Jayden to a matinee, popcorn, cartoon previews, the whole nine. The house went soft around the edges. Monica and I put on jackets and walked the block, hands in pockets, leaves scratching the curb. We talked like grown folks. No circling. I owned the hidden camera again. Why I did it, what it cost. She named the quick fix, how the quiet tempted her, how the shame landed after. We didn't defend. We just put the facts side by side and let the night air cool them. On Maple Grove, I asked, "What scares you most right now?" "Losing control," she said. "At work. At home. Picking the wrong thing because I'm tired." For me, I said, it's missing a slide because I wanted to believe we were fine. We set warning signs we'd share out loud. 2 foggy mornings in a row. A teacher note about drifting. Bedtime creeping later 3 nights running. More than one wake up in a week. Any 2 of those, we call the doctor. No debate needed. Then we build a non-med plan B. Who to call? Miss Evelyn first for a calm sit. Leon for a sleepover if we're fried. Pastor Ray for a same-week check-in. What help looks like. Meals dropped on the porch. An hour of homework help. A night of dishes so bedtime stays gentle. Night duty split. I take first shift till midnight. Monica takes the early morning stir from 5 to 6. Weekends we swap. We added a red word for nights that get hot. Timeout. If either of us says it, the other steps back. No chasing the talk. 10 minutes, water, then we sit at the table and use the checklist. Not feelings to steer. By the time we circled the block, the plan fit in my pocket like a set of keys. Not everything fixed. But we weren't guessing anymore. We were 2 tired parents with a map, walking the same way on purpose. Next day we made the house say it out loud. I printed a 1-page checklist and stuck it on the fridge with the pizza magnet. Dinner, bath, book, light, gadgets off. 5 lines. Big font. No wiggle words. Underneath, a little box for initials so whoever ran point could mark it done. Every evening, we held a 5-minute briefing at the table before bedtime. Timer on the stove. No speeches, just hits. How the day went. Any sugar late? Any big feelings? Did he sprint at recess or sit? Then we named the tripwires. Homework drama. Screen temptations. Cousins calling after 7. Last, we picked who was first response if he woke. Darryl till midnight. Monica 5 to 6. We wrote it next to the date, so there was no confusion in the dark. The checklist changed the air. Instead of floating rules, we had boxes to tick. If one of us felt thin, the other could take a line. Dinner? Check. Bath? Check. Book? Your turn. Lights low. Gadgets off and charging in the hall. Jayden liked pressing the magnet star onto the last box when he climbed into bed. It made the whole thing feel like a game he could win. I noticed we argued less, because the paper did the talking. When I started to over-explain, the timer beeped and saved me from myself. When Monica felt the workday hanging on her shoulders, she touched the list, took 1 breath, and picked a task. Routine replaced the camera. Same goal, better feeling. We were watching together, not watching at each other. On the log, bedtime stayed tight and wake-up stayed scarce. If a night ran rough, once it did, after a late call from Leon, our briefing the next evening named it and adjusted. Move the call earlier, push bath 5 minutes sooner, add 2 extra breaths. It wasn't heroic. It was ordinary and steady, the kind of care that makes a house feel safe. By the end of the week, I realized I hadn't looked at the shelf clock once. The fridge had become the monitor we needed. Ink in boxes and the 2 of us shoulder to shoulder, marking what mattered and letting the rest fall away. Then we hit a bump. Leon FaceTimed after dinner. just to show Jayden the goofy new net they'd put on the hoop. One quick call turned into a string of video laughs and trick shots. It ran past 7 before I caught the time. When we finally hung up, Jayden was lit up and wiggly, mine still on the court. Bed took longer. He flopped, joked, tried to bargain for just one clip of highlights. I pointed to the checklist and kept my voice low. We did the routine anyway. Bath book, lights down. I sat in the chair and led 4-7-8 twice. He blew the eights too fast and grinned. I said, slow like a tire losing air. The third round took. His shoulders dropped. He still woke once, 12-18. I heard the sheet rustle and his small dad. I went in with the room already dim and the water glass set. No speeches. A hand on his back. 2 slow breaths together. He sipped, lay back, and asked if the cousin call broke the rules. I said, we learned something. We'll move calls earlier. Then I read a short page, 1 paragraph from the chapter we'd stopped at, and closed the book on purpose. No lingering. He rolled to his side. By 12:24, his breathing evened. I logged it in the kitchen under the stove light. Lights out 8:14. Asleep 8:36. Way 12:18. Back down 12:24. Next to tripwires, I wrote, late video equals wired. Key calls before 6:45. Monica, half asleep at the table with her tea, nodded and tapped the note with her finger like a stamp. Morning was decent. Not perfect, not foggy, just fine. He slid into his chair without missing it. Ate most of his oatmeal. Left a polite island of raisins. He told me a dream about a red bus that dunked a basketball, and we both snorted. At school drop-off, he jogged the last 10 steps to the door. That night we adjusted without drama. We texted Leon earlier. We started bath 5 minutes sooner. No extra talk about last night. No blame. The system held, because it was our system, not a lucky streak. And that mattered to me more than the smoothest week. Seeing the plan bend and not break when life did what life does. After that, I laid my values out like tools on a workbench and looked at them one by one. First, protect my son. That's the job I don't clock out of. If something threatens his mornings, I stand in the doorway and keep it from coming through. Second, honor my wife. Monica is not my opponent. She's the person who stayed up with me on colic nights and went to work with red eyes anyway. When she stumbled carrying our load. I owed her care, not a courtroom. Third, respect privacy. A child's room should feel safe, not staged. A marriage should breathe without a lens in the corner. The hidden camera had been my seatbelt on black ice. It kept us from skidding into a worse wreck. But a seatbelt isn't the whole car. You don't keep wearing it in the kitchen because the road was bad last week. Fourth, decide together. The checklist, the log, the counselor, the pastor. Those only worked because both our names were on them. If I started making solo calls again, we'd be right back in the ditch, just on a different side. When I put those 4 in a row, the camera sat where it belonged, a crutch for a risky stretch. Useful to cross a damaged bridge. Wrong as furniture in a living room. I could admit it had helped, and still admit it couldn't stay. I wrote the 4 lines on a sticky note and stuck it under the sleep chart. Protect Jayden. Honor Monica. Respect privacy. Decide together. Seeing them, there kept me from chasing feelings when a night ran rough, or a memory flashed rude. It reminded me that safety without respect turns into control, and respect without safety turns into denial. So when Monica asked again about taking the device down, I didn't argue from fear. I argued from those 4 lines, steady and plain. We had rails now. We had outside eyes. We had a boy who was waking up hungry and laughing at his own silly dreams. The crutch had done its job. It didn't need to become part of the furniture. Here's where we're landing right now, and I'm saying it to you in the open. I stop all recording tonight. No more video, no archive, no little red dots pretending to keep us safe. For the next 14 days, I keep the setup as a monitor only, screen dark, sound low, just enough to be first responder if he stirs before dawn. We run our rails the whole time. Checklist on the fridge, sleep log on the door, 5-minute briefing at night. If we meet the stability mark the doctor set, 2 to 3 clean weeks, we pull the plug and take the clock down. Not a maybe. A date we write in ink. That's the plan I can stand behind today. It lines up with what matters. Protect my son, honor my wife, respect our home, decide together. It lets trust breathe, but it doesn't pretend the past didn't happen. It gives us a short runway, then insists we fly. Now I'm asking for your wisdom. If you were standing in these boots, what would you do? Take the camera down right now as a full sign of trust? Keep it short, no record monitor window like we're choosing? Or is there a third path we're not seeing? Something that keeps a child safe and a marriage soft at the same time? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what worked in your house, what you'd do different if you could go back. If this story helped you, or sounded like your own kitchen at 6 a.m., please like the video and subscribe. It keeps this channel alive and makes room for more honest stories like this one. Thank you for listening. For real. Peace and blessings on your home tonight. I'm Darryl King, signing off, and I'll see you next time.